Folks, let me tell you something. 6,600 people, non-citizens, on the voter rolls in New Jersey. And the governor of that state, when the Department of Justice comes knocking, asking very politely for the records, slams the door in their face. Now that is a story, and I've got it right here in my formerly nicotine-stained fingers. And we are going to go through every last beautiful, infuriating inch of it together. 6,600 non-citizens registered to vote through the motor vehicle system. 400 of them, 400, apparently cast actual ballots. And the governor of New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, who ran on a platform of, I am not making this up, transparency, has told the DOJ she will not be handing over the records. She pledged transparency, and then she blocked the documents. You literally cannot make this up. Now, I want you to sit with that for a second, because the left will tell you, and has been telling you for years, that widespread voter fraud is a conspiracy theory, a dangerous lie, an attack on our democracy. And yet here we are in the Great Garden State, and we have 6,600 non-citizens who somehow found their way onto the rolls, and roughly 400 of them voted. And the governor says, you're not getting those records. I'm Rick LeBow. This is Rush Hour, and we are just getting started. My friends, when I say the left does not want you to see something, I mean they will wrestle you to the ground to keep your eyes off of it. And New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill, and I'm going to call her what she is a transparency bandit, has done exactly that. She held a press conference. She said the word transparency. She used it like a shield. And then she told the Justice Department of the United States of America that the records you're looking for, the records that prove or disprove how 6,600 people who are not citizens ended up registered to vote in her state, those are none of your business. Now, 19 House Republicans have sent a letter demanding answers. 19. And they want to know two things. First, how did this happen? Second, how did 400 of these people actually vote? Let me walk you through how this works, because some of you might be wondering, how does a non-citizen end up on the voter rolls? This is not actually a mystery, folks. New Jersey, like a number of blue states, has what's called automatic voter registration tied to the motor vehicle system. You go get a driver's license, you get registered to vote. Now, some of those licenses go to non-citizens, legal non-citizens, people here on visas, green card holders, that kind of thing. And the system, by design or by magnificent incompetence, and with these people you never really know which, just sweeps them right onto the rolls. Now, when this was pointed out to the governor, she did what every Democrat does when caught. She talked about how much she cares about election integrity and how seriously she takes this and how her administration is committed to ensuring every eligible voter can vote and blah, 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 blah. And then she didn't produce the records. The lady is something else. Here is the part that I find most instructive, my friends. The left has spent, and I mean spent like they rented a billboard, the last 10 years telling you that even asking about non-citizen voting is racist. It is xenophobic. It is an attempt to intimidate minority voters. That is their argument. So what happens when you find 6,600 of them on the rolls? Well, naturally, the same people who told you this was impossible are now telling you it doesn't matter. That the number is too small to change elections, that it was an administrative error, that you should calm down. Now, and follow me here, if it is too small to change elections, why will you not let us see the records? Because if the answer to, does this affect elections, is no, you'd want everyone to see that, wouldn't you? You'd be waving those documents in the air. You'd be holding a press conference with a PowerPoint presentation. You'd be so thrilled to prove the critics wrong. Instead, you've got a governor hiding behind lawyer letters and stonewalling the DOJ. You know what that says to me? That says to me she doesn't like what's in those records. Now let's talk about what this actually represents, because I don't want to get lost in the New Jersey weeds. This is not just a New Jersey problem. This is what happens when you build an automatic voter registration system and then import, by the hundreds of thousands, people from other countries, some here legally, some not, and you just let the machinery do its thing. The machinery doesn't check your citizenship. The machinery checks whether you filled out the form. And when the form is incomplete, or when the box is checked wrong, or when the clerk doesn't ask the right question, on to the rolls you go. And then, this is the beautiful part, when somebody notices, when somebody adds it up and says, hey, wait a minute, the people who built the system call you the threat to democracy. I have been saying for going on 30 years now, 30 years, my friends, that the left's interest in loosening voter registration requirements, in opposing voter ID, in tying registration to the DMV, in fighting every attempt to clean the rolls, has never been about making it easier for American citizens to vote. It has been about making the electorate larger and more favorable to them. That is the whole game. The whole thing. And now we have 6,600 names on a piece of paper in New Jersey proving it. And what does the governor do? She looks the DOJ in the eye and she says, you'll get nothing, and you'll like it. This woman ran for office promising transparency. She was transparent, all right. Transparent about the fact that as soon as the transparency became inconvenient, the transparency was over. 19 House Republicans sent a letter. Good. I hope they send more. I hope they send a moving truck. I want those records. I want to know the precincts. I want to know the races. I want to know when these registrations happened and whether anybody thought to check. Because here is what I know about New Jersey elections, folks. New Jersey has been decided by margins smaller than 6,600 votes. That is a fact. And the transparency bandit is going to stand there and tell me this doesn't matter. You know, I often say that I know the left better than they know themselves. I know them like I know every square inch of my gloriously naked body. And this is exactly what I would predict they would do. They get caught, they talk about caring, and then they hide the evidence. Every single time. The real tragedy here, folks, is that when actual, legal, hard-working American citizens go to the polls, people who were born here, people who went through the citizenship process, people who paid taxes their whole lives, their vote gets diluted. Every illegitimate ballot cancels out somebody's legitimate one. That is not abstract. That is math. And that is what the Democrats will not discuss, because the moment you discuss it, the whole voter suppression argument collapses like a wet paper bag. I leave it there for now because we've got more to get to. But don't let this one go. Watch what the transparency bandit does next. My prediction, and don't doubt me on this, those records never see the light of day without a court order. And maybe not even then. All right, my friends, we've got a few more items on the docket, and I want to move through them because each one of these is a little gem in its own right. First up, and I have to tell you, this one made me smile. Taxpayer-funded transgender dolls with swappable genitalia for children as young as 4 years old, coming to classrooms this fall, courtesy of the University of Minnesota Medical School, with your money. Now, I want to be very careful here because I want to make sure I understand exactly what is being proposed. 4-year-olds in classrooms playing with dolls that have removable, interchangeable body parts, of the anatomical variety. And the University of Minnesota is calling these, quote, first of their kind, which, yes, I'll grant them that. These are indeed first of their kind. Now, in a sane country, and I want to stress that phrase, a sane country, the University of Minnesota Medical School would be busy training doctors. It would be worried about things like Alzheimer's research and cancer treatment and surgical techniques and all of the things that a medical school should be worried about. Instead, they are designing dolls with removable genitalia for kindergartners. And they'd like you to pay for it. You know, folks, I have grandchildren. A lot of you have grandchildren. And I want you to imagine, just for one moment, sending your 4-year-old to school, packing their little backpack, kissing them on the head, and then finding out that the afternoon curriculum involves a gender-swapping doll and a lesson about identity at age 4. These people are not educators. They are ideologues with a captive audience and access to the public fisc. The drive-by media will cover this, if they cover it at all, as some sort of courageous and compassionate breakthrough in inclusive education. They will find a sympathetic expert, they always find a sympathetic expert, who will explain in a very measured, professional-sounding voice why this is actually good for children. And the people who object will be called, on cue, bigots. I have a different word for them, parents. Moving on, China. Now here is a story that deserves more attention than it is getting, and I promise you, our friends in the drive-by media will bury it under 17 Trump stories before the weekend is out. 105 top American scientists, researchers, academics, gone, recruited to China. Over the last year alone, nearly half of them in biotechnology and medicine. These are people who were, in many cases, working at American universities, American research institutions, doing work that was funded in no small part by American taxpayer dollars. And now they are in Beijing, working for the CHICOMs. Let me say that again. 105 of our best minds in 1 year. Now, the CHICOMs are not doing this by accident. They are executing a deliberate, decades-long strategy to surpass the United States in every field that matters: military technology, medical innovation, artificial intelligence, you name it. And they are very patient about it. The Chinese Communist government thinks in generations. They don't think about the next election. They think about the next century. Meanwhile, what do? Well, we defund our universities' research programs when they're inconvenient. We make it nearly impossible for American companies to recruit and retain the best foreign talent. And we stand around being shocked when those people end up working for our chief global rival. Now, I want to be very clear. I am not saying we should simply throw open the gates and let anybody in. That is not my argument. But I am saying that if you look at the list of the 105 people who left, and the New York Post has this story, these are people who, by and large, had opportunities to stay. They were recruited away. The CHICOMs showed up with money, with facilities, with promises of resources and prestige and freedom from the bureaucratic swamp that has made American research increasingly miserable to navigate. And 105 of them said yes. That is a catastrophic intelligence failure and an economic policy failure and a higher education failure, all wrapped in one. And nobody at the drive-by media is putting it on the front page because it doesn't fit the story they're telling about everything being basically fine. Don't doubt me on this one, folks. The CHICOMs are playing a long game, and we better start playing one too. And finally, and I cannot let this pass, the Obama Presidential Center. You remember the Obama Presidential Center? The multi-hundred-million-dollar monument to Barack Hussein Obama that has been under construction in Chicago for what feels like approximately one geological era? Well, it seems the subcontractors who built the basketball facility they rather grandly call home court, which hosted the WNBA All-Star events, three of those subcontractors are now claiming they haven't been paid. Nearly $900,000 in unpaid work. My friends, $900,000. Now, I want to be fair. Construction disputes happen. Subcontractors file liens. This is not unheard of in the construction world. But, and this is a very large but, this is the Obama Presidential Center. This is the man who spent 8 years telling us that everything he did was different, was better, was more ethical, was more transparent. The whole brand is competence and moral seriousness. And they stiffed the subcontractors, the basketball court people. And now those people are filing payment claims in Cook County Court, and Barry's legacy project is facing a dispute over almost $1 million in unpaid bills for a WNBA basketball facility at a presidential center that cost, in total, somewhere north of $700 million. But they didn't have enough left over to pay the people who built it. You really cannot write this stuff, folks. I'm told the Obama Foundation has not yet responded publicly to the claims, which, again, shocking. The transparency, the accountability, the change we can believe in. My friends, what a day! What a magnificent, infuriating, deeply American day. Here is what I want to leave you with. There is a thread connecting everything we talked about today, and it is this. The people who want to run your life, who want to control your vote, your child's classroom, your country's scientific edge, your tax dollars, your everything, those people do not respect you enough to tell you the truth. They don't. They think you are a problem to be managed. The transparency bandit in New Jersey doesn't trust you with the voter roll records. The University of Minnesota doesn't trust you to decide what your 4-year-old is ready for. The Chi-Coms are counting on us being too distracted and too divided to notice what they're doing. And the Obama Presidential Center apparently didn't trust the subcontractors to go away quietly either. But the American people are not stupid. You are not stupid. I have never thought you were stupid, and I never will. You are the most capable, most resilient, most fundamentally decent population of people that has ever organized itself into a nation on this earth. And every now and then, you need somebody to sit down in the Attila the Hun chair, put on the golden microphone, and remind you of that. That is my job. And I love my job more than any human being ought to be allowed to love a job. Keep your eyes open. Keep asking questions. And remember, they fear you most when you're paying attention. So pay attention. I'm Rick LeBow. This has been Rush Hour. Same time tomorrow if they let us back on.